The Secrets of Droon, written by Tony Abbott. Rub, scrub, splash. Eric Hingle bent over the sink in the bathroom at school. He swished his hands in the soapy water, trying to clean up after Jim. "You're lousy at climbing ropes," he said to his friend Neil. "Did you have to fall on me?" "I'm better at watching things than doing them," Neil said as he scrumbled dirt from his shirt, his nose, and his shoes. "I think it's a sign of smartness." "That's not what the coach said Eric. Then he sighed. "Man, we need to go back." "To class," said Neil. "Mrs. Nikias promised us a math quiz. Can't we be a little late?" Eric turned to face him. "No, I mean to droon. I can't think about anything else." It was true. Droon was always on Eric's mind. It had all begun one day when he and Neil and their friends Julie were cleaning up his basement. Well, they were supposed to be cleaning up. Mostly they were playing around. Then behind some boxes they had discovered a small closet. Inside the closet was a rainbow-colored staircase. It led to another world. A magical world called Droon. Neil splashed water on his nose. "I know what you mean. It's kind of boring here. Julie wants to go back too. I just hope Kia is okay." Kia was one of the first people the kids had met in Droon. She was a young princess learning to be a junior wizard. An old and powerful wizard named Galen Logbeard was teaching her all the magic she needed to know. But what Kia wanted to know most was when her mother would be free of an evil spell. For years, Kia's mother, Queen Relna, had been changing into one animal after another. She had to go through many shapes until she could be a human being again. At the end of their last adventure, Kia had learned that Queen was now in form of a red tiger. To find her, Kia had flown away on the back of a giant bird. Kids didn't know what had happened next. "I wish we could go back whenever we want," said Eric. "I don't like waiting." Usually the kids dreamed about Droon. Sometimes Kia sent them a message through an enchanted soccer ball. But until one of those things happened, Eric and his friends just had to wait. Tap tap, there was a knock at the lavatory door. "Guys," it was Julie's voice. "Mrs. Michaels want you back right now," she said. "It's quiz time." Neil looked at his shirt in the mirror. It was soaking wet. "Well, my work here is done. See you in class." He left Eric alone at the sink. Eric was about to drain the water when he glanced down. The soap swirling in the sink suddenly stopped, in the shape of a face. Sad old face with a long white beard. "Galen?" Eric mumbled to himself. "Galen!" A moment later, the face in the sink was gone. The water was just water. Eric dashed back to class and slid into his seat between Julie and Neil. "I just saw Galen floating in the bathroom sink," he whispered. "How did he fit in there?" Julie asked. "No, I mean his face was in the soap," Eric said, Mrs. Michaels giving him a stern look. "We will start our math quiz now." She passed out the papers and stood in front of the room. "You will have 10 minutes to finish, starting now." Eric looked at the paper, but all he could think about was the wizard's face. Why had Galen appeared to him? Why had he looked so sad? Was something wrong? Eric felt a tug on his sleeve. It was Julie. She was staring at the chalkboard. She looked up. He nearly fell out of his seat. A piece of yellow chalk was floating up behind teacher's back, silently, and pressed against the green board and began to write. Eric glanced around. Everyone else was busy working on the quiz. Their heads were down. The chalk began to spell out letters S-H-E. Eric slid his foot out and tapped Neil's sneaker. Neil looked up. His mouth dropped open. "I-S." The chalk hesitated as Mrs. Nikias glanced at the clock. "5 more minutes," she said. The chalk continued writing. L-O-S-T. "She's lost." Eric's eyes widened. "She? Kya?" Mrs. Michaels started to turn around. Then the eraser flashed up from the bottom of the board and swished, wiped away what the chalk had written. Eric and his friends were the only ones to see the message. They were the only ones meant to see it. They were so excited they could hardly finish the quiz. When the final bell rang, they burst from the classroom and rushed out to their bus. Galen must have sent the message. Eric whispered, I think it's about Kia. Julie nodded. She must have gotten lost trying to find her mother, and now we need to find her. It's like homework, said Neil, only from droon. 10 minutes later, the bus stopped at their corner. They raced into Eric's house and were down in his basement in no time. Neil and Julie pulled aside some heavy boxes. Behind the boxes was the door to a small closet nestled under the basement steps. The kids piled into the closet and shut the door behind them. Eric looked at Julie and Neil. Everybody ready? He asked. They nodded. Julie turned off the light. Click. For an instant, the small room was dark. Then whoosh, the floor vanished beneath them, and they stood at the top of a long, shimmering staircase. They never knew where the stairs would lead, only that one of their droon friends would meet them at the bottom. A warm wind blew as the three friends began to descend the stairs. The sky around them was glowing pink. There is a coastline below, said Julie. Some sand, lots of sharp rocks. There is a big sea on one side and a forest on the other. It looks okay. I don't see anybody down there, I said Neil. Where is our welcome committee? Let's just be careful, said Eric cautiously. We can't be sure of anything. That was true. There were lots of friendly creatures and people in Droon, but there were other types too. An evil sorcerer named Lord Spar had long been trying to take over Droon. He was in hiding now, but the kids knew he could pop up at any moment. As Eric looked out across the crashing waves, he also remembered the mysterious witch named Demeter, who ruled under the sea. The last time they saw her, Demeter had transformed herself into a giant sea serpent. Splash! Waves splashed over the rocks below. I see a boat, said Julie, pointing to a small shape bobbing on the waters. I bet it's Galen coming to welcome us. Yes, a friendly face, said Neil. Let's hurry down and meet him. They dropped onto the beach just as the staircase faded. They knew it would appear again when it was time to go home. The boat headed toward them. He's trying to land, said Neil. Kahoom! The sea thundered loudly, and a large wave rose up like a hand. It seemed to grab the tiny boat and hurl it right at the shore, right at the jagged rocks. Oh no, Galen's going to hit the rocks. He's going to crash. Splash! But the little boat didn't hit the rocks. It slid neatly between them and up onto the sand. Then it stopped. Wah, said Julie. That was lucky. Or magical, said Eric with a smile. Good things for Galen that he knows so many spells. The three friends ran over to the boat. It was a small wooden craft with a short mast. Hello, Neil called out. Anybody at home? I mean at boat? The boat jerked once, then flonk, whiz, blap. Its wooden sides flapped down. A set of 4 wheels popped out from beneath it. The mast collapsed and a seat flipped over on the front. In a second, the boat was no longer a boat. It looked like a circus wagon, said Neil. I love circuses. Do you really think it's Galen's? Julie asked. Plonk, one last panel slid down into place. Not unless he changed his name, said Eric. The wagon now bore a brightly painted sign. Tarok the Clown, featuring Slag, mightiest man in Droon. I love clowns, said Neil. Moments later, a door opened on the front of the wagon. Out popped a little man in a big coat. He had a funny horn stuck in his belt. His hair was blue, and his nose was big, red, and false. He was mumbling quietly to himself, but stopped when he saw the children. Julie stepped forward. Hello, she said. We are glad you didn't crash. Honga, honga. The man squeezed his horn suddenly. I am Taro, the clown. He blurted out. I make millions laugh with my joke. Here is one. What is the difference between children and fish? Give up? I like fish. Haha. Eric and his friends looked at one another. Does he mean he doesn't like us? Neil whispered. Tarok jumped up on his seat and waved his arms. Behold Slag, the mightiest man in Droon. Slag? Where are you? Slag? Plam! Back of wagon flew open and out stepped a large man. A very large man. Slag was at least 7 feet tall. He had a head large as a pumpkin, and he seemed to be made entirely of muscles. Julie nudged Eric. "He's bigger than the wagon," she whispered. "How in the world did he fit in there?" Slag grinned as he flexed his muscles. His smile showed many teeth missing. "We are going to the droon quiz," said Slag. "In Bangledown Forest." He pointed at the wall of trees nearby. "That's the forest." "Thanks," said Eric. "That's good to know, but what is a drone quest?" Taruk narrowed his beady eyes at them. "The quest is great race for wonderful prize. Everyone is coming miles around to compete, and I will be there making them laugh. My partner Slag will perform feats of amazing strength, but right now we are late. Slag, let's go." The giant then reached into the back of the wagon and pulled out a large powerful net made of thick rope. He tossed it over his shoulder. Then he tugged on something else. A large shaggy six-legged beast called Pilka clopped out of the wagon. "Whoa," said Julie, urging around to the back of the wagon. "What else is in there?" Blam! Slag slammed the door before she could see inside. Then he hitched the Pilka to the wagon, clambered into the seat next to Tarok, and set the net beside him. "Can I ask what the net is for?" asked Neil. "We are going to fishing, of course," said Tarok. Julie blinked. "But you are heading to the forest? How can you fish in a forest?" "That's the joke," Tarok said without smiling. "See how funny I am?" He squeezed his horn once more. "Honka honka." Then snapped the reins. Yellow wagon sped quickly across the beach. Eric waited for it to disappear into the forest before he spoke. "Were those guys weird or were they weird?" "Both," muttered Julie. "And a little scary too. But besides that, if Galen did call us here, why didn't he meet us at the stairs?" "Do you think maybe he's at this drone quest thing?" asked Neil. Eric scanned the forest. "Maybe. At least now we know that this is a Bangledown forest. It is ruled by a queen named Ortha, I think." "Right," said Julie. "And Ortha is friend with Kia. Maybe she can help us find her." Finally, Neil added, "After the unfunniest clown and the hugest muscle man in Rune, it will be good to find some real friends. Let's get moving." Bangleton Forest was like a jungle, enormous, dark and hot. Brightly colored, birds began to crowing the moment the kids entered. Cow, kee, roo, leaves fluttered and hanging vines twitched above them as they searched for a path. "It's kind of spooky in here," said Eric. "Don't worry," said Julie. "This seems pretty much like a rainforest. We studied once in science, remember? We'll be okay. Just stay cool." "Stay cool," said Neil, flapping his shirt. "It's a rainforest. It must be 100 degrees." Crack! There was a loud noise in the bushes. "Run," said Eric, but they couldn't run. Something large, swift came crashing through the trees and leaped onto the path in front of them. Neil jumped. "Holy cow! I mean tiger." It was a tiger covered with red fur. "Row!" it growled loudly, but there was something strange in the sound. It once the kids knew. This wasn't just any tiger. "My gosh!" cried Julie. "Could it be?" "I think it is. It is Kunrelna." As if it understood Julie's words, the animal stirred. Its red fur rippled from head to tail. Its black eyes started in fear. Then the tiger spoke. "My young friends, find Kia. Tell her the hour has come for me to change, but there is a danger. I am being followed. Tell her, beware the magic." Then, as swiftly as it had appeared, the tiger jumped away through the trees. "Kunrelna?" Julie yelled. "Wait, don't go!" But the red tiger was gone. Eric stared around into the thick woods. "I don't see anything following her. She sure looked frightened though." "You can add me to that list," said Neil. "Man, I wish Kia were here." Whoa! Suddenly Neil leaped 10 feet in the air, twirled once, then shot straight up into a tree. Julie gabbled at him. "How did you do that?" "I didn't," Neil cried. "Something threw me up here." The next thing Eric knew, his feet were yanked out from under him, and yikes, he too was hurled in the tree. Julie looked at them, well off all the hay. Now she was jerked up from the ground, swung around like a propeller, and thrown into the tree with Neil and Eric. "Who did that?" she howled. Only answer was a sound, tampa tampa. A heavy footsteps
Chapter 3.
crashed
The
after the
Wonder in
tiger
the
and
Trees.
away into
Can
the woods.
somebody help me down? Said Neil, doubled over a thick branch. I can't move, my foot is stuck. Eric moaned. Somebody has to unstick me. Stop complaining, snapped Julie, trying to get her arms free. Help me instead. Neil hissed, somebody is coming. The kids looked down. Trotting up the path was a spry old man. He wore a rag cloak with a hood, thick glasses, and a long droopy mustache. Hey, sir, Julie called out to the man. Can you help us down from this tree? The old man stopped under the tree and blinked up through his glasses at the kids. Oh my gosh, it's you. Crip, the stranger tugged off the mustache, tore off the glasses, and shook off the old clothes. Julie squealed when she saw who it was. Key, it's her, it's you. It was Princess Key. I'm so glad you're here, she said brightly. Key's crown shone in her long blonde hair. On her back, she carried her mother's magic harp. How did you know to come to Droon? She asked as quickly as she climbed the tree and helped her friends down one by one. Galen was in the sing at school, said Eric, rubbing his ankle. Well, his face was. Then the chalk wrote she's lost on the board. Neil added. We figured Galen meant that you were lost. Me? Lost? Key said, her eyes widening. The last time we saw you, you flew away on a big bird, said Julie. We were worried. I guess Galen was too. Oh no, said Key. I have been disguised searching for my mother. Now everyone thinks I'm lost. Plus, we saw your mom, said Neil. She said she needs to change shapes, but somebody's following her. She also said, beware the magic. Key held up her hand. Wait. She closed her eyes for a moment. Then she sighed. No, she is no longer nearby. Come on. We would better go to Bangledon City right away. We need to tell everyone we are safe. This way. The princess pushed down some leaves aside and jumped onto a narrow path through the trees. As the kids followed, they told Key about Tarok and Slag and the attack in the woods. Key listened carefully. After I left you, I tracked my mother here to the forest. I went in disguise when I realized someone was hunting for her. Can your harp help you find her? Asked Eric. Key's magic harp used to belong to her mother. No one knew all the harp's powers, but it had helped the kids many times before. Key held up the small bow-shaped instrument and touched a row of colorful gems called story stones. They showed events in Queen Relna's life. One of the stones took the form of a red tiger. The next two stones were missing. My harp won't help me here, said Key. No magic is allowed in Bangledon Forest. Long ago, the forest was proclaimed a place of peace. It's ancient law of Droon. Julie frowned. Sounds like somebody isn't playing the rules. Yeah, the invisible dude, said Neil. Rubbing his sore arms, met him, didn't like him. The princess entered a thick hedge of bushes, then stopped and smiled. Even though the laws of Droon do not permit magic here, she said, amazing things can still happen if you know where to look. She pushed through a wall of bright flowering bushes. Behold, Bangledon City. The kids looked around them. Holy cow, said Neil. It's like the ultimate treehouse, except it's a tree city. It was true. Spreading far up into the distance was a city built of tree houses of all sizes. The houses were made from branches and the roofs were thatched with fat green leaves. Giant towers were carved into massive tree trunks. They loomed like friendly old men watching over the city. Bridges made of woven vines dangled from one tall tree to the next. Some of the tallest houses even poked through the very top of the forest. This is so amazing, Eric exclaimed. It is one of the great wonders of the drone, said Key, her eyes beaming. Let's go in. Boom tum boom tum. Drums pounded as soon as the children entered the city. At once, a troop of furry green monkeys scampered down from the trees and surrounded the visitors. Key, they cried, Key is found. Another group of monkeys appeared from nowhere. With them was a tall old man wearing a long blue robe and a tall wizard's hat. Galen, said Key, rushing to him. The wizard hugged the princess as if she were his own daughter. Ah, my dear Key, I searched for you. then lost you in the forest. Even I am not allowed to use my powers here. He turned into Eric, Neil, and Julie. Forgive me for not meeting you at the stairs. I was called to the city. I am glad you found Key so quickly. Julie laughed. Well, Key sort of found us. Yeah, up a tree, added Neil. Some kind of invisible dude tossed us up there. Invisible, said Galen with a quick look at Key. So there is magic here. Key, children. A happy voice chipped. It was Max, an eight-legged spider troll with big eyes and orange hair. He scampered down from a tree and hugged Key as Galen had. You are all here just in time, Max said. Eric, Julie, Neil, the droon quest is today. It happens only once every 7 years. It's a great contest of skill and endurance. And also of fun. Cool. Fun is my best sport, said Neil. Galen turned to a flight of long stairs as sending to a palace in the trees. The quest will begin soon, and for that we must see Ortha, the leader of Bangladesh monkeys. But first tell me what you have seen. In the case of the invisible person, what you have not seen. On their way to the palace, Eric, Julie, and Neil told Galen about Tarok and Slag, the invisible attacker and the red tiger. Queen Relna told us, beware the magic, Eric added. We don't know what that means. Galen paused on the stairs to the Otha's palace. It means someone is defying the ancient laws of Droon, upsetting the peace that graces this wonderful forest. Who would do that? Asked Julie. Only a sorcerer or wizard could, Galen replied. Since Lord Spare is hiding, I can only guess who is behind this is unlawful use of magic. Key looked at her friends, then at Galen. Who is behind it? Galen's eyes narrowed as he spoke the name. Which Demeter? Eric shuddered. They all did. Galen went on. As you know, Demeter's powers for evil are second only to those of Lord Spare himself. But what she wants is far from clear. 7 years ago, Demeter appeared as the last quest, and she and the queen fought. Oh, a bitter sight it was. Who won? Asked Neil. I will bet it was the queen. No one wins such a conflict, Galen said sharply. A battle of angry words ending in silence. Demeter demanded something. The queen refused. I have never learned what it was about, but it was clear to me that the witch held some secret power over Key's mother. Demeter is so bad to the core, said Max, snarling. I do not trust her an inch. They stood before the doors of Ortha's palace. Then Galen turned to look out over the forest. The black sea churned angrily in the distance. If indeed there is dark magic in the wood today, the wizard said, then clearly we must be watchful. We must be careful, all of us. Bong! A deep going sound boomed over the trees, and the great wooden doors of the palace swung open. Chapter 4. Into the Arena. The giant doors parted and out strode Ortha, the ruler of Bangladesh monkeys. She was tall and slender, and her green fur glistened in the sunlight. She wore a long blue cape and a crown made of sharp purple leaves. She smiled warmly at the kids. Welcome all of you to our forest, she said. Key, children, I am glad you are safe. You have arrived just in time. The quest begins this afternoon. Let me show you. They entered a giant green room. The leafy ceiling was held aloft by massive wooden pillars. This is so cool, Neil said. It's like being inside. The sunlight and the warm, breezy air flowed through the open sides of the palace, fluttering the leaves. Wood chimes clattered gently from the ceiling. It's so magical here, said Julie. We Bangladans live entirely without magic, Otha said as she swept through the hall. That is why Queen Relna chose our forest as the site of the Droon quest. Everyone, no matter who they are, has a chance to win. Galen turned to Otha. Alas, Key and the children have seen magic in the woods today. Queen Relna is nearby, but she is not safe. An unknown creature is following her invisibly. Ortha drew in her breath sharply. Our forest was never meant to be the battleground of able forces, but we cannot delay the quest. They passed from the room and out onto a balcony overlooking the vast forest below the palace. On the forest floor was a large open arena. In the center was a field. A great throng of people and strange creatures from every corner of Droon were gathering there. Banners waved, and the flags of all sizes and colors flapped over the tents and incoming wagons. Julie pointed to a long winding path through the forest below. "What's that?" she asked. "That is the course for the quest, or the said. Each team races in chariots. The quest twists and turns like a snake and ends at the sea. It looks so cool," said Neil. "Can we race?" The Bangladesh ruler nodded. "Yes, but as with all true quests, it will not be easy. You must race once around the arena, then enter the forest. There you will find obstacles." "What kind of obstacles?" asked Eric. "First, the walls of fire," said Max, his eyes glowing large. "Then an angry raging river. After that, you must race on foot," said Otha. "Across the beach and across a bridge to where?" asked Julie. "Ah, this is the most wonderful part," said Galen. "On this very day, every 7 years, an island appears offshore at the sundown. When Relna founded the quest, she chose the island as a place where the quest would end. It is on the island that the winners will find the prize." "But you must be quick," said Max. "The island appears for only a few moments before it vanishes again. For another 7 years. Another secret of Rune," Julie said. "Neat. But what is the prize?" asked Eric. "A gold medal, a trophy, treasure?" Galen shook his head. "Many legends have grown up about the prize, but it is something worth far more than gold or jewels. For the one meant to win, the prize is what he or she wants most. For all authors, it is worthless. The quest prize is the only magic allowed here." "Could the prize be a cure for my mother?" Key asked breathlessly. "It could indeed," said Otha. "Your mother hoped that someday you would win the prize. It is not only a great honor, but a test of a truly special person." Key looked at the gathering crowd. Then she unslung her harp. "I will try my best." She landed the harp to Galen. "I guess I won't be needing this." The gong sounded again. Otha smiled at the children. "It's time to enter the arena." The children, with Max and Key leading the way, descended into the quest arena. There were all kinds of games and sporting events being held before the big quest. One purple lumpy in a yellow warm-up suit was tossing a large leather ball at a stone wall. "Okay," said Neil. The catapult conquered nearby. A pair of slithery creatures with tiny heads raised into the trees as crowd cheered. Beyond that, a handful of green monkeys leaped onto vines and swung to see how far they could go before jumping off to a small pond. Julie grinned. "I love it. It is like the Olympics in our world. I want to be in a race." "Look," Max shouted. "The chariots." Eric whistled when he saw them. "Oh, cool." Before them stood a giant parking lot full of chariots ready for the quest. Each chariot was like a fancy open cart hitched to a single pilka. Some had wings flying up from the back. Others had double sets of wheels. Some had seats. Others you stood up in. But all of them looked very fast. He hopped into a sleek purple one. "This is the one I'm choosing," she said excitedly. "I love the wings in the back. Besides, it's big enough for four. Would you like to race along with me?" Julie jumped up and down. Yes, I would love to." "You bet," said Neil. Eric glanced around at the crowd. "But let's not forget our homework," Galen said to be watchful. "If there is magic here, it means someone is disobeying the law. But I will watch out for cheaters," said Neil. "But I'm running if I see someone invisible." "How can you see someone who is invisible?" asked Julie. Key laughed, then stopped suddenly and looked around. "You sense them." Eric turned to her. "Are you saying you sense something now?" Before Key could answer, a loud voice yelled behind them, "Out of the way, please." A yellow wagon rumbled in the field. It was Tarok. He seemed to stare at Key as he drove his wagon into the arena. "Tarok, the clown is here," he bellowed. "My show begins in half an hour. You will laugh so hard, you will cry." Julie pulled Key close. "That's him," she whispered as the wagon rolled by. "Tarok is the strange man we told you about." Key watched the yellow wagon rumble away. "It's odd. I feel something, but I'm not sure what." "Key," said Max, pulling her by the hand. "The wine trials. Everyone asking for you." Key took one last look at Tarok's wagon, then turned and smiled at the kids. I have always wanted to compete in the high vines event. I will meet you back here right away. We will stay here and snoop around, said Eric as Max led Key into the crowd. Julie glanced at Eric and Neil. What was that all about? Do you think he really sensed something? Maybe magic in the air. It's kind of odd that Tarok should come along just when she felt something. Neil said. Maybe not so odd, said Eric, gazing after Tarok. There is something strange about that clown. I don't trust him, or Slag either. Where is Slag, anyway? Julie asked. Neil glanced around the crowd. You can't miss that guy. Even his muscles have muscles. Both of those dudes give me the major creeps, Julie added. Eric gave a quick nod. I would like to see what else Tarok has in that wagon of his. What do you say? We do some serious spying. That gets my vote, said Neil. They all started after Tarok's wagon. Suddenly, a cry rang out of the arena. Hey, help! Princess Key is in trouble.
Chapter 5, A Princess in Trouble. The kids rushed through the crowd. Everyone was staring up into the tall trees at the top of the forest. Kia stood on a single slim vine that hung between two trees like a high wire. But something was wrong. The vine she was on was rippling and quivering under her as if someone were shaking it. Eric looked over the far tree. Someone's pulling on Kia's vine. She will fall. But there is no one there, said Judy. It must be Mr. Invisible, Neil added. Tossing the people around wasn't bad enough. Now he is messing with our princess. In a flash, the kids jumped into action. They started climbing a rope ladder to the top of the first tree. Hanging in there, Kia, Neil yelled up. Faster, said Eric, keeping his eye on the princess as he climbed. She won't be able to stay on much longer. They reached a small wooden platform at the top of the tree. It looked as if the vine Kia was standing on was being wobbled sharply from the platform on the far tree. She was desperately trying to keep her balance. What do we do now? Julie asked. Eric looked around. Hanging vines dangled all around them. We do what they do in circuses all the time. Juggle? Asked Neil. No, like on the trapeze, said Eric. He grabbed one of the vines and tugged on it. This should hold me, he said. Are you nuts? Said Neil. You fell off the ropes in gym today. Eric gave Neil a look. I fell off because you fell on me. Besides, do you have another idea? Kia can't use magic. She's like us now. She needs help. He paused. From people who now know what they are doing. Okay, don't rub it in, said Neil. Julie and I will hold the vine tight to make sure it doesn't break. You go and try to reach her. When you do, we will hold you both in, said Julie. Simple teamwork, but please be careful. Eric tied the end of the vine tightly around his waist. He took a deep breath. Wish me luck. Luck, said Neil, and hurry. Eric hoped he could do it. He wasn't very good with ropes. Not as bad as Neil, but still not very good. Still, he had to try. As soon as he stepped out, the vine strung between the trees shook some more. Oh, the crowd gasped. Eric's heart was racing a mile a minute. He could hardly breathe. He felt hot and cold at the same time. If this doesn't work, he whispered to himself, never mind, it will work. It has to. Neil and Julie tried to hold the vine steady, but it shook even more violently. Kia glanced at Eric, her eyes filled with fear. Please be careful, she began. Eric urged farther out, then snapped, the vine broke under them. Kia fell. Eric leaped for her, his arms outstretched. Grab onto me, he cried. On his way down, their hands met. Eric clutched Kia's wrist. His vine pulled tightly. They swung back to the tree. Kia grabbed the rope ladder and held it tight. Eric, thank you, she gasped. Eric's heart was still rising. Never mind that. We need to catch whoever did this. Together they jumped to the ground. Julie and Neil scrambled down after them. They ran to the far tree, but they saw no one. Whoever had been shaking the vine was nowhere in sight. Suddenly, Tampa Tampa. The ground thudded and leaves fluttered in the forest. It's Mr. Invisible, said Neil after him. The kids tore through the bushes. The leaves crashed this way and that. They nearly caught up to the invisible creature, but lost the trail when it hooked out of the forest in the arena. There must be 1,000 people here, said Julie as they pushed into the bustling crowd. Keep looking for clues, said Eric. I'm looking, whispered Neil, but so far I haven't spotted anything. Wait, said Kia. Look, their footprints. As they watched, large footprints appeared on one after another on the ground nearby. The print wove carefully through the crowd and led to a wagon. A yellow wagon, Tarak's wagon. Aha, Julie said with a gasp. I knew Tarak was part of this, but what is Tarak up to? Kia asked. And why is he doing what he's doing? All of a sudden, honka honka, a noise rose up out over the crowd. Come on, come all, a familiar voice bellowed. See Droon's funny man. I am Taro, the clown. I act is so funny. You will just die laughing. Chapter 6 Droon's Funniest Man. Honga honka. The crowd cheered as Tarok ran around honking his horn on a small stage near the wagon. Welcome, one and all, the little man called out. Then he pointed directly at Kya. I see we have Queen Ralna's daughter here. And what rhymes with daughter? How about water? Tarok then picked up a bucket with the word water written on the side, rushed at the audience, and emptied it over them. Everyone screamed and ducked. But it wasn't water, it was glitter. It showered gently over the crowd. Now watch this, said Tarok, as he began to juggle three glass bowls while standing on one foot. Isn't this amazing? I wish I could juggle, Neil whispered. Julie gave him a look as the kids crept forward. Neil, we think he's the bad guy. Neil shrugged, but juggling is so cool. Taro caught the balls and stuffed them in a pocket, and now for something mystical and mysterious, he boomed. He raised his hands and poof! A cloud of red smoke exploded on the stage. When the smoke cleared, Slag was standing there, all 7 feet of him. The crowd cheered. Mr. Invisible, live and in person, Neil said. Eric snorted. Mystical and mysterious, huh? It looks like magic to me. Kia frowned. So it was Slag who tried to knock me off the vine, and it was him chasing my mother. Tarok waved his hands at the crowd. I am pleased to present Slag, the mightiest man in Droon. Slag, show them, especially the little ones, just how strong you are. Slag squinted out over the crowd, then fixed his eyes on the kids. As he did, he began to bend a long iron bar. He groaned, he growled, he snarled, and he grunted. When he was done, the bar was twisted into a giant knot. Neil nudged Eric. Do you get the feeling he wants to do that to us? He's trying to scare us, said Kia, because we suspect them of my gosh, she's here, my mother is here. Eric whirled on his heels. Where? Do you see her? No, Kia whispered, closing her eyes. She's trapped. She's hurt. I feel it. Julie slapped her forehead. Of course. Of course. What? Said Neil. It all makes sense now, Julie whispered. That big net Slag had, Tarok saying they were going fishing. This weird wagon of theirs, Mr. Invisible, don't you see? Yes, said Neil. Then he shook his head. Well, not really. Julie pulled his kids close. Tarok and Slag are the ones who trapped Kunralna. Not only that, they have her in their wagon. Kia's eyes grew wide. I'm going in there. Eric saw blue sparks shoot suddenly from the tips of Kia's fingers. We are all going in, he said together. Yeah, well, we will buzz them good, Neil added. They started edging away from the crowd. Stop, Tarok snapped, pointing a sharp finger at the kids. Don't go, the fun is just beginning. I need a volunteer. You there with the silly grin, I need you. The crowd turned to Neil. Who, me? Neil pointed to himself. No, sorry, I don't volunteer. It always gets me in trouble. Like the time I cleaned the eraser for Mrs. Michaels and got chalk dust all over her clothes. I nearly got detention. Over the time I pulled him close. Neil, this is the perfect plan. Tarok will probably just pretend to pull eggs from your ear or something. I don't want eggs in my ear, Neil cried. But you can keep an eye on Tarok and Slack while we snoop inside their mystery wagon. Julie pleaded, "It's the only way. Maybe he will teach you to juggle," whispered Eric. "Really? Juggle?" Neil blinked. "Okay." He jumped onto the stage. "Right this way," Tarok said as Neil stumbled up next to him. "We will do a bit of symbol illusion, simple and fun. It's magic, make no mistake," Kia whispered to her friends. "Oh, come on." As they began to circle around the crowd, Tarok brought out three glass balls again. "Cool," Neil mumbled. He seemed entranced when Tarok started to juggle them once more. "Keep your eyes on the balls," said Tarok, and one and two and poof. A great puff of red smoke exploded on the stage, and the three of them were gone. Tarok, Slag, and Neil. Gone in a puff of smoke. Julie gasped, "Where is Neil? Wait a second. I don't like this after all." Eric watched the smoke rise, then began to fall over the amazed crowd. He didn't like it either. "Kya," he said. "Is Neil okay, Kya?" But the princess had already crept around to the back of the Tarok's wagon. The door creaked once, and she was inside.
Tarok's mystery wagon. When Eric and Julie pulled open the wagon door, they found the inside room empty. Julie frowned. Where did Kia go? There was a small door on the opposite wall. Did she go back out? Asked Eric. Oh man, first Neil, now Kia. We keep losing people. Let's stick close. Julie nodded. She closed the small door and pulled it open slowly. As she did, the air seemed to hum and sparkle. Holy cow! She exclaimed. Eric peeked over her shoulder. He gulped. The door didn't lead back outside. It led to another room, and what a room! It was at least twice the size of their school classroom, and the ceiling was three times as high as the wagon itself. No wonder they could fit a pilka in here, Julie whispered when they had stepped in. They could fit a whole herd of them, but it sure didn't look like a stable. The place was magnificently decorated, as if it were a room in the richest palace. Candles on the walls lit an area of couches, tables, and chairs sitting on a fancy carpet. Piled along the walls were big traveling chests. They overflowed with gold and jewels and leather bags filled with glittering coins. Eric shook his head slowly. Okay, this is plain crazy. How can you have a wagon that's bigger on the inside than the outside? Kia was right, said Julie. This is no simple illusion. This is magic. Look, there is another door at the far end. Kia Julie ran for the door, but Eric's eye was caught by one chest with jewels tumbling out. He leaned over. Among the jewels in the chest was shiny black gem. It was flat and perfectly round. He picked it up. It glimmered in the grand light. Then it flickered suddenly in his hand. Check this out, he said. It looks like a story stone from Kia's heart, Julie. He glanced up. Julie was staring through the Julie was staring through the far door. Eric, she whispered, get over here now. He pushed the stone into his pocket and went to her. He stared past he stared past her through the doorway. Okay, well, this is different, he said. Different, said Julie. It's weirder than weird. They were standing at the top of a set of steps that curved down a long way into darkness. The steps seemed to go far below the ground that the wagon was sitting on. I guess we have to go down, Julie asked. I guess we do, said Eric. Quietly, the two friends strapped down the steps. The stairs were covered with a kind of thick slime. They kept curving downward. I wish Neil were here, said Julie. Me too. So he could go fast. Julie finished. Eric tried to laugh. He couldn't. He was scared. What had happened to Neil? And where were they going? And who were Tarok and Slack anyway? Finally the steps ended. Eric and Julie came out into a stone chamber. The floor was wet, and it smelled like the beach, like seawater. It was much darker and colder than the other rooms, but Eric breathed a sigh of relief. Kia was there, and she was not alone. Mother, she murmured. Kia was standing next to a cage. The red tiger lay inside, almost still, breathing very slowly. I feel so helpless, she said. Look at her. She's sick. She can hardly breathe. Maybe it's because she needs to change into another shape, said Eric. And she can't because of the cage. She needs to be a, she needs to be set free, said Julie. Kia reached hand to her hand toward the cage. A bolt of red light shot out from the bars and struck Kia's hand. She snatched it back. This is a sorcerous magic. Red light is always a sign of dark magic. You should know, said a cold voice. Tarok strode from the shadows. Gone was his clown's nose, his white blue hair, his silly horn. He tossed up a glass bowl and caught it. So you have found our little secret, quite a catch, isn't she? The queen of drone in my little wagon. Let her go, demanded Kia. Hmm. Tarok replied. You know, snarled Eric, for a funny man, you are not very funny man. Tarok's face twisted into a dark scowl. Now the fun is over. Now the games begin. Want to play catch? Tarok held the ball up in front of Eric. That's when the kids noticed a tiny shape inside the ball. A shape they all knew. It was waving at them. Oh my gosh, said Eric. It's Neil, Julie gasped. You let him out of there, right now. No, said Tarok. Backing away, Slag come forward. The giant stepped out of the shadows behind Tarok. He held his pretzel-shaped iron bar. He bent you like a bar, Slag grunted. Eric glanced at Kia and Julie. I was right. This is definitely not funny. The quest begins. Tarok stepped over to the cage and waved his hand over it. In a violent burst of light, the cage was empty, and Tarok was holding a second ball. In the ball was the red tiger. How did you do that? Demanded Kia. Where did you get that power? Yeah, Eric ground. Just who are you? Tarok stepped back towards the shadows. We are just two fellows with a job to finish. That's right, said Slag. She had been mad at us if we failed. She, said Julie. She who? Kia's eyes widened. She began to tremble. Which Demeter? She hissed. She is where they get their power. How very clever of you, princess, Tarok said, bowing slightly. We do odd jobs. For the witch, it's true. We are her legs, I guess you could say. Demeter told us to catch the tiger so. I caught her, grunted Slag. Me and my net in the woods. Of course, said Eric. You came straight out of the water. That's where Demeter rules. And this magic wagon, it even smells like fish. Ha, Tarok laughed. Using Demeter's magic, we will have more than fish. We will win the quest and the prize of loves, treasure of gold and jewels. It's our reward for catching the queen. You are evil, Julie cried. You are not allowed to use magic here, especially witch magic. Then gong. Otha's gong sounded outside, signaling that the quest was about to begin. I had loved to stay and chat, Tarok said, but Demeter wants the queen and we want that prize. Oh, I almost forgot catch. Taking the ball with a nail inside, he tossed it up to the high ceiling. Don't break, Neil, cried Julie. She jumped for the ball, but somewhere near the ceiling it burst. Neil popped out full size and collapsed to the floor. Tarok and Slack leaped away into the shadows. They are escaping, said Kia. After them. Suddenly, the walls around the kids began to collapse. Flop clanged. The room got smaller. Let's get out let's get out before it traps us, cried Eric. He helped Neil up and they all jumped after Tarok but they found themselves face down in the mud outside the wagon. The wagon kept changing. It's becoming a carryout, cried Julie. The great gong sounded once more. The quest is starting. Yet Neil, Tarok laughed icily. He snapped the reins hard and his will charged to into the arena. Kia's fingers sparked. I will stop them. No, Kia, don't do it, said Eric, rushing to her. We will stop them the regular way. Yeah, said Neil, running over to her chariot. We will chase them. Kia stared at the chariot, then at her friends. Then she gave them a smile. Let's go. The kids hopped into the chariot. Garen's leap was already hitched up to it. He snapped the reins and the chariot thundered onto the race course. A, a cloud of dust blossomed up from the starting line as a dozen other chariots raced around the arena. But Tarok and Slack were far in the lead. Their chariot charged ahead, round the arena, and shot in the forest. Already the sun was falling behind the trees. We have to catch him soon, Julie said, or we will be too late. The iron will be gone. Faster leap, he said, and the Bulgar jumped ahead with a burst of speed. Eric gripped the sides of the chariot tighter. It's okay to go fast, but please drive safely. Leaves and vines flapped and whizzed by as they drove deeper into the forest. Right, left, right. The course twisted and turned sharply. The path grew narrow. Then something loomed ahead of them. It was the first of the obstacles. Flame boards ahead. Neil called out, "Prepare to be charcoal boiled." A wall of orange flame rose upon each side of the narrowing path. The fire lashed out like fingers trying to claw whatever passed through. But Tarek didn't slow down. He shot a handful of silver dust into the path, and the flames frozen instantly. "Thank you for your magic, Demeter," he said as he drove his chariot swiftly between the frozen flames. As soon as he passed through, the fire crackled angrily to life again. Leap reared up, nearly tripping the chariot over. She would not go on. She stamped her feet on the ground and began backing up. "She won't ride into the flames," he said. Julie looked around. "I have an idea. I saw it in a movie once." "Wish me luck," said Eric. Julie pulled two leaves from a nearby bush, jumped up on two leaves back, and slapped the leaves over the Pirka's head so it could not see sideways. "Try it now," Julie called back. Kia urged Leap to move forward. Leap whined loudly, then raced between the fairy walls and out the other side. Yes, Julie whipped the leaves off. Eric helped her back into the chariot and slapped her high five. "Nice work, Julie. The next one's up to you guys," she said. Kia drove the chariot and over the path. Eric looked ahead even as he clutched the sides of the chariot most tightly. He knew, they all knew, that they needed to do more than stop Tarok and Slack. They had to win the prize. Eric remembered Garen's words. For the one made to win, the prize was what he or she wanted most. Eric knew what he wanted. It's what they all wanted. A cure for Queen Rena. But it sure was not going to be easy. Slack began tossing iron bars out the back of their speeding chariot. The bars struck the path and bounced up at the kids. Kia tried to drive the chariot around the bars, but one of them hit a wheel. The chariot bounced. So did Eric and Neil. They shot out of the chariot like cannonballs from a cannon. Cried, cried Eric as they went hurtling toward a tree. We are gonna, we are gonna get smashed. Suddenly, a thick net of vines splashed down from above. Eric tumbled into the net unhurt. Neil shot in next to him. They looked up. A handful of green Bangladon monkeys waved from the high trees. "Thanks," Eric yelled up. "It's nice to have friends in high places," Neil added. Eric and Neil leaped down from the net just as their chariot passed underneath. They dropped down right next to Julie and Kia. "Glad to have you back," said Kia, laughing. Then another laugh broke through the forest. "This will stop you," Tarok yelled back as he sped into the next turn in the course. "What will stop us?" asked Julie. Then they heard it. "Oh no," cried Kia. The raging river.
Chapter 9 Island of Magic. A wild river crashed and surged across the coast, sending cold white spray high in the air. Tarok slowed his wagon only long enough to shoot more sparkly dust across the water. Sing. The river turned as smooth as glass. It froze into a flat road of ice. Aha! Slack cheered, snapping hard on the reins and driving their pilka across ice. "Hurry," said Julie. "Maybe we can get across before he changes it back." Too late. Splosh! The river exploded again into white capped rapids The instant Tarok and Slag reached the far side, Kia pulled leap to a stop on the near bank and jumped out of the chariot. We can't fail at this. We need to get the prize. We need to. We won't fail, said Julie. We will just have to get across the old fashioned way. Neil stepped back from the churning river bank. You want us to swim across that? Judy smiled. Not if we can help it. She pointed up. Above their heads were dozens of long, thick vines hanging down from the tall trees. We swing across to the far side, she said. Oh man, sighed Neil. It's like I never left gym class. Then he shrugged. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. They each grabbed a long vine, ran back, and leaped from the ground. Fifth, 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 fifth. Four friends soared over the river's crashing waves. Plop, 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 plop. They landed safely on the far bank. They picked themselves up and plowed through one last row of trees. Beyond them lay a strip of white sandy beach. On the beach, jutting out into the water, was a narrow footbridge, and Tarok's chariot was racing toward it. We will have to go the rest of the way on foot, said Kia. Come on, let's run like the wind. The four friends raced across the sand as fast as they could. At first, the Black Sea seemed peaceful and almost golden in the fading light. But as they drew nearer, the water rumbled and ground quacked. The sea churned wildly, spitting up large white capped waves. The island, Kia said, it's coming. Khartoum, the sea broke open, and a rocky point of land came thrusting up the black depth. It was as if a small mountain were being pushed out of the earth, through the water, and into the light of day. Waves bubbled and hissed and swirled all around the land, then went calm. In the center of the island was a perfectly white stone. On the stone lay a wooden bowl. It was plain and battered. It was not encrusted with jewels or gold. It had no markings on it. It was just a bowl. But the instant the fading sunlight struck it, the air around it turned 100 colors. The bowl itself glowed and sparkled, and so did the water in the bowl. Oh my gosh, said Kia, racing to the bridge. That's the price. Rick could tell. They could all tell. It wasn't just sea water rippling in a simple wooden bowl. It was the true winner wanted most. Yeah, the price is for you, said Eric. If Tarok were meant to win, it would be a pile of treasure, but it is not. It must be the cure. Run, said the princess. Run, run. They raced across the footbridge as fast as their leg could carry them, but it wasn't fast enough. Tarok and Slag reached the end of the bridge and leaped onto the island. The prize, Tarok howled, raising his arms in victory. The prize is mine. Chapter 10. A Spell from the Past. Taro grabbed the bowl from the stone. He stared at it. What is this? He snarled. Is this the legendary prize? It is nothing but an old wooden bowl. Where is the treasure? Slag boomed. He stuck his nose in the bowl and took a sniff. This smells like nothing. I want a real prize. Before the kids could get to the island, Tarok and Slag began fighting over the bowl. Give it to me, said Tarok. No, it's mine, Slag boomed. Suddenly the bowl slipped through their fingers. It hung in the air for a moment. Then it crashed to the ground. Sploosh! The golden liquid splashed out, drained through the rocks, and it was washed into the Black Sea. No! Kia gasped, jumping into the island. That was the prize. It was magic. Magic, said Tarok. He looked at Kia, then at the bowl, then at Slag. You numbskull! Me, grunted Slag. You did it. The two men began to slap each other. Kia's fingertips shot off blue sparks. Give me the glass bowl now. My mother must change her shape or she will die. Neil and Julie grabbed Tarok by arms. Okay, okay, the little man said. He tugged the glass bowl from pocket and tossed it up. And coaxing, the bowl sizzled and sparked, then burst away to nothing in puff of red smoke. The tiger appeared before them, lying on the ground, its head resting on its chain paws. Kia knelt next to her. The queen gave out a long, quivering breath. Kia, without the cure, only Demeter has the power to alter this spell. No one else may do it, but the princess eye flashed with determination. No, there must be another way. Can't end like this. At that moment, Eric's pocket felt hot as if something it in it were burning. Whoa, he said. I totally forget. He dug his hand in his pocket and pulled out the black gemstone. I found this in Tarok's wagon, he said. It's just the right shape to be a story stone from your harp. I thought it might be one of the missing ones. Kia held the gem in her hand. It is one of the stones, she said. I know it. The moment she touched it, the black gem began to flicker in Kia's hand, and as it did, a halo of bright red light began to swirl around her. Then the light covered her mother. The tiger howled a sudden, unearthly sound. Slag stepped back. Red light. She has witch power. Taro gaped at Kya, but I thought only Demeter could do that. The princess, she has Demeter's power. Julie frowned. For your information, Kya is very good wizard. Eric turned to Tarok and stared at him fiercely. Where did you find this stone? Tell me. Tarok shriveled under Eric's gaze. Years ago in Panjibara Hills, I saw Demeter and the princess alone together. That's impossible, Julie snapped. She would never be alone with a horrible witch. I saw them together, Tarok went on. Demeter held the princess's hand. Strange light flowed between them. Red light, just like right now. That's where I found the black gem. Now let me go. With a burst of strength, Tarok wriggled free of Julie, Neil, and poof! The air filled with smoke. In the confusion, Tarok leaped to the bridge and Slag with him. Together they raced to shore. But the kids could not tear their eyes away from Queen. She had already begun to change. The tail was first, then the legs, and the back. They all turned silvery black. Yeah, the queen purred. You have saved me. I don't know how you have the power, but you do have it. The queen struggled to her feet and crawled to the shore. Mother, is it true what Tarok said? He asked. About the witch and me? Darna shuddered as the last of her red fur vanished and the shiny dark skin spread completely over her. That is a secret I will find the answer to, she said. Now I must go. My next life is the darkest yet, but there will be joy on the other side. Until then, be careful, be well, I love you. With those words, Queen slid beneath the churning waves. The water crashed once, then was still for a long time. Oh, mother, Kya whispered. Suddenly, splashed. The waves broke up open and something soared out. Pinrelna, Julie shouted. But this time, nothing of the tiger was left. Instead, she was a sleek, slender sea creature, a dolphin. A black as ink, Dolphin flew joyously over the waves. She twirled in mid-air, then slid beneath the sea again. Over and over she soared and dived. Softly Kya said, She is beautiful. She has always been beautiful, answered a friendly voice above them. The kids looked up to see Galen standing calmly on the edge of the bridge. Come now, he said. Quest is over. The staircase has appeared, and already the magical island began to sing. The kids climbed onto the bridge. Splash! Black waves washed over the new island, and it descended, rumbling and shaking, beneath the sea once more. In a moment it was gone. On shore, Tarok and Slag climbed into their chariot. Flong blinked. In seconds, it was aboard again. I motored quickly into the water. The bad guys are getting away, cried Neil. Karen smiled. I think Demeter has plans for them. They failed today. She won't like that. As soon as the boat hit the water, waves began to toss it about, driving it far out to sea. Serves them right, said Julie. The kids and Galen crossed the bridge back onto the beach, where the magical staircase stood shimmering on the rocky shore. From the edge of the forest came a familiar shout. Yee, yee! Ortha stood with a small band of green monkeys waving to Eric, Julie, and Neil. As they raced the stairs, the kids waved back. At the bottom of the staircase, Galen handed the princess her harp. Although it may not seem so, Kia, today you have won the quest. She smiled and hugged Eric, Julie, and Neil. I couldn't have done it without my friends. Kiara nodded slowly. Truly, friends like these are also a prize. Then Kia set the black story stone in its place on the harp. As she did, the stone flashed for an instant. Then, deep within it, as if it etched into the gem from inside, was a shape, a leaping dolphin. Only one